So I just find that hilarious. So how did you get into organising? Because you are a professional organiser, that's your business, that's a passion of yours. How did you get into it?
Significant passion. So it really came from when the children were younger, and I was messing things up and not getting to places on the right day or being late. I had this really amazing friend, and I made that friend through my daughter's class, through our eldest child. And she was so wonderful at supporting me. So she'd say lovely things like, you do know that, Susie's got a party on at 11 o'clock on Saturday, right? And it wasn't patronizing. It was just, you do
just
know.
A gentle reminder.
Oh, I got it on Sunday. Okay, thank you. And there was never any drama. And once I started to think about, okay, well, how am I going to deal with being organised for me and being organised for the children? Because they were all still young when I was diagnosed. I sat her down and said, how are you so organised? Like, what is it that you do? And she said, well, I don't know, you just do it. And I said, well, when you say you don't know, there must be things that you do in order to remain organised. Anyway, I sat with her for a very long time and picked her brains about how she was doing things for her, and started to learn some tips, I guess, on how to start to become organised. And one of the things is, really concentrate on one thing at a time. And I really, saying to an ADHD person, I just sit down and concentrate and slow down. Okay, gosh, why didn't I think about that? Really good advice, Sarah. But it's like, okay, I'm just going to focus on one thing. So there's going to have to be other things that fall away, but I'll just focus on one thing.
Yeah, get one thing right to start with.
Yeah, I remember one specific thing. I can't show you because there's a big Post-it note on there at the moment, but just to my right, I decided I could never find my keys. I never knew where they were. And so, okay, I'm going to focus. What is it that I can do to make sure that I find my keys when I want them? Because it was a significant issue. I've got to get out of the house. I can't find my keys. And I remember thinking, right, I'm concentrating on one thing. And that one thing is I need a special place to put my keys. And I went down to the op shop and got some like cute little hooks that I then screwed onto a mirror, which is just over there. And that was my place for my keys. And I had to be present. And the one thing that I concentrated on, apart from keeping the children alive, was as I walked in through the door, put the keys on the hook. And if I noticed the keys out, taking the time to go, oh, the keys are out, right, put them on the hook, put them on the hook. What's the benefit of putting them on the hook? And like really nagging about it. And then all of a sudden things started to make sense of, oh, okay, I concentrated on that one thing. If I can do that, how would that work in other areas of my life? So the first thing that I did was start to get the kids more organised. Start to get me more organised and intentional about the way the children were. I was very intentional as a mother, and it comes naturally, and I'm very thankful for that. But you can be a really good mum in a chaotic mess, but you can be an even better mum in a peaceful space. So it was really from the desire to have things more peaceful at home that I started to learn about being organised.
So from organising your home, did that start to trickle out into other things?
When I got things organised, the next hurdle for me was, oh, this isn't a one-time event. I thought you got organised and that was just it. Because my mum is super organised, super organised. And she used to say to me when I was younger, the only reason I'm organised is because I'm lazy. And I could never understand it. It's like, oh, yeah. Once you're organised, things are peaceful, you've got nothing to think about. It's like you can wander off and go into dreamland and, pick flowers. And it's just.
I know, I would love to have a completely minimal home. So I don't need to look at anything instead of looking at my squat up there. But it just doesn't work that way in my house at the moment. And, this is one of the reasons, another reason why I'm glad you're on, because you understand what it's like to struggle with that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned on the way, so when I first really focused on, right, we've got to be organised. And I've got to say, I went from one bit of the pendulum right over to the other, so that, you know, that everything was spontaneous all the time. And it was so draining, and it was not a nice place for people to live in, because, you know, somebody would want to make a sandwich, and, you know, that's not on. It's not okay to come into the kitchen and make a sandwich, or we all need to eat. So I think it's probably a bit like, yeah. So I thought about, I had an issue of, I was really organised at work. So how can I be really organised at work? And my house felt chaotic. And the biggest thing that I love sharing this tip is, we are so emotional at home. Yeah. So anything that we pick up at home, anything, the little figurine there, if I pick that up, I know who it was that gave it to me. I know the words that she said when she gave it to me. I happen to like it. But that's the same with everybody's house. You have an attachment. I'm not talking about a significant hoarding issue attachment, but an attachment to the things that come into your home. It's different at work. At work, you know, you're trying to do your work. The work has come your way perhaps from somebody else, and you have to push that bit of done work along to somebody else. So there's a responsibility, and there's an understanding of how that work works. So I'm going to do this. I know how to do that because I've got a procedure book for it, or whatever it is. I love procedures, step by step. And then pass that on to the next person. So if you've got a kitchen that is messy, and you may not have cleared up from the night before, and then you've got to start dinner for that night, and you haven't got the ingredients in, and you don't know what you're doing, that's extremely stressful. And then all of a sudden, the really bad self-talk comes on. It was for me, and I'll talk about me. What on earth is wrong with me? You know, every day we eat food. Why is it that I can't get it together? Why does it always happen? I don't want to be living in a mess. And it wasn't dirty. It's just, you know, I haven't got to that bit yet. The dishwasher wasn't unpacked. So it was emotional. And at work, it's not emotional. So the biggest tip I can give to anybody is, it's a simple one. It's a simple, quick tip, but it's not necessarily simple to implement, is to think of your home like a kindergarten, or to think of your home like a shop. So if you think about it as a department store, there needs to be an easy, clear path to get the stuff that you want. And if you're holding on to stuff that you don't want and it's not useful, that's not a easy, clear path to get to the stuff that you want. So as an example, if you think of yourself as the information center of a department store, or a teacher in a kindergarten, but something very simple, the concept is simple. Where does each thing in your house belong? What is the purpose of the particular space? An example, what's the purpose of a dining room? Purpose of a dining room is to eat your dinner at, to connect with family members if you feel like talking to them, you know, not always. No judgment. So what's that?
No judgment.
Absolutely. So if your dining room table is full of washing or paperwork or the projects that you're just about to do, it's not fit for purpose. And there's no judgment in that. It's just have a look at it and see it for what it is. Oh, okay, well, we might use this as a study. So I'm actually sitting at my dining room table now, not in my office. I prefer it out here, but I can just take the stuff up and put it back in my office. So if you think about you being the information,
our dining room table is where the kids do all their stuff. We don't have an area for them to sit and do their little projects or their drawing or whatever. And they have a playroom, but there's no table or anything like that up there that they like to sit at. So our dining room table, our kitchen table, if you like, is a dumping ground, and it's a big dumping ground, and it's an area of stress for me. So that's a very interesting analogy that you're bringing up there. It's not fit for purpose.
So there are reasons why we do things, right? So the reason I'm sitting at my dining room table now is just, you can't see, but just behind the laptop, we're in a very green part and it's beautiful, and I can see out there and it's lovely. The sun comes in through this window. I can see the front door, I can see the back door, and the dog and I have got an eye on each other.
Yeah.
It's a little bit warmer than my office, but I like it. And if somebody comes in, I can have a quick chat and get back to work. So part of the purpose of my dining room is to have a clear space where I can work at. So it's not, the function of it is not just the the eating part, and I like it to look pretty. So pretty is defined by me. And if we think of ourselves as the information center of the home, so you would go and ask, you go into a department store and say, can you tell me where men's socks are? So the department store might say, okay, straight away, it's up on the second floor, so top floor of your house if you've got two-story house, next to the men's shoes, which are next to the men's suits. So if you start thinking about it in those terms, it no longer becomes emotional and about the fact that you don't have a clear dining room table, or you are not able to function in your kitchen and therefore there's something completely wrong with you. It's not about that. It's just about thinking about it in another way, in a more simple
in the wrong
term.
department.
It's in the wrong department.
I love that idea. I do. I really, that actually makes a lot of sense to me, and would probably make clearing up a bit more pleasurable, because I'd be like, right, I'm going shopping. Where does this go?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the thing with that as well is so one of the most useful bits of information that people would give me when I would say, how are you organized? Because I asked, I did my research, and how are you so organized? What is it that you do? Like, how do you think that you can do this? The most useful piece of information they could give me was everything in its place, and everything has a place.
Yeah.
And I as someone with ADHD, I honestly did not know what that meant. It's like, oh, okay. And all these people were saying the same thing. It's like, oh, well, then there's something amiss, until I realized, oh, it's me that needs to know where that goes.
Yes.
So pens, I've got a pen on my table. Okay, actually, I've got 2 pens. We were doing a project, no judgment here. So 2 pens on the table. I know where this goes, and it actually doesn't matter where it goes. Yeah. But what does matter is that I'm consistent with where it goes. Yes. So if I want to keep pens in the dining room table, in my candle holder, that's where all the pens go. Yeah. I will be able to find it, and I know where to put it back. Not only that, if somebody asks me for one, I can say, oh, it's in the candle holder on the buffet. Or, can you please put that away? Where will I put it? It belongs in the candle holder on the buffet. Yeah. So when we think about it in different terms, and we think about the second tip, which is the good one, is what do you want your home to be? So I want people to come to my home freely, which means there's a certain amount of things that I would like done that I don't need to be concerned about. So if there's mess everywhere, that does not make me feel comfortable. If it's clean, not
and I've been feeling that.
Yeah. So if I want people to come over, and we have people that, oh, thank goodness COVID's over, because I was dying, but not literally, obviously. But when they come over, I want them to feel at home. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to be able to sit wherever they want to. And invariably, they'll come straight in and sit in the kitchen, and then we'll have a chat. So what I want from my home is a peaceful home where people feel comfortable. I don't want it to be perfect, because perfect doesn't work for us. No. I want it to be comfortable. I want it to be clean, and I want it to be welcoming. So what is it that I need to do in order to make that space that way? Yeah. I want the children to always want to come home, but not stay. No, stay a little bit. You've got little children.
I can't say that to mine. Still at primary school. You can come home, but you can't stay. Go and live in the garden.
Oh no, please don't say that. I think we call that childhood trauma. Yeah.
So I guess another question I've got for you for organising is, I do have a lot of places that things should go. So for example, I have a beautiful mid-century modern sideboard beside the kitchen table, and its sole purpose, because I don't have fine china or anything fancy like that, is for the kids' art supplies. Yet nothing goes back into the place. So how would you keep it to that level? Once you get it to where you want it to be, how do you keep it like that?
I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay, fire away.
What are the things that don't go back in there that you feel should go in?
It's all the sort of pens and pencils and things like that. Yet there is a caddy for pens and pencils sitting on top that they can pick up and put back.
Okay. Do the children know that that's where they belong?
Yes.
Is there a specific time where we say, right, let's do this together?
No. And that's where I'm failing.
Right. No, you're not failing. You just haven't got it yet. So let's not do that, because that's too hard. Because
so we have to train ourselves all together.
So I'm going to ask you more questions.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is a time, so you've said you're like me as far as time goes. I have timers on, I have alarms for things. And especially in the early days, for the children, there was a timer for everything. Yes. So a timer, 6 o'clock, it's time to pack up the table, time to wash hands, time to put stuff from school into the dishwasher, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we need to clear the table. So how are we going to do that? And it needs to be, especially for little kids. And I have one that I would call an Olympic whinger. I just didn't want to trigger that whinging. So it has to be easy. They can reach it. They understand. So where do the pens belong? The pens belong in the caddy. Great. Can you reach the caddy? Yes. Great. How many have you put in? And we're a very competitive family. So that the youngest one's motivated by money, but we're all really competitive. So how many pens have you put in? 10. I've done 12. So, find a currency that works. Yeah. So I've got more questions. So the question, and so that's a dedicated time. That is an intentional time. So
I like that. I think that would work. Yeah.
And you don't have to think about it. Well, the good thing, how old are your children?
7 and just about to turn 9. So
they're still old enough for you to encourage them with not the actual truth. So things like, well, the alarm's gone off, or the timer's gone off, or that song's gone off. And what does that mean? Oh, it means we need to put our pens away. Great. Yeah. And then it's no longer you, the mum, nagging, saying, put the pens away. It's like, oh, that's the song. My current one is Sweet Home Alabama, the Leonard song. So, okay, when that comes on, I've got to do something in particular. So if you make it very child friendly, it's not your problem. So, well, the alarm's gone off, so that's what we do at this time.
See, I've got that for their technology. They get a certain amount of time each day, and that's it. When it's done, it's done, and that has taken that off me. So this would be a fabulous way to do that. And I think for myself as well, it would probably be really good. I mean, before I had kids, I didn't really have this issue because I keep on top of everything.
Because there's only you to look after.
The plates were spinning, but I could keep on top of it. And then the kids came along, and that's when the wheels fell off and the plates fell off, and my brain fell out, I think, as well. I think they removed it with the placenta. But but yeah, I like that idea, because I do use timers for other things. Both kids are on different kinds of medication. So Ayla finds it hard to sleep, so she takes melatonin at night, because her wee head just turn off. So I have a time that they have to get their meds, and I was really worried that I would forget. So so smart, I felt so proud of myself, into the phone and done it that way. So I should just do that with cleaning, tidy time. Right, let's
tidy
time.
Yeah. And it's share your enthusiasm, because if you really appreciate that all the pens are back in the caddy and you don't have to do it as well, it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's a big win for the family. But I have more questions about the area for this.
Yes.
Does it work?
No.
The draw stick.
Oh, everything works. It's although it's a mid-century style, it's new. So I don't have any issues. But the whole thing probably needs cleaned out. Some of the more babyish stuff gotten rid of, and then make better use of the space.
So with the idea of thinking of yourself as the information desk of your own home, when you look at items, the buffet behind me. So the buffet behind me is to hold the good stuff. So I'm turned into Mrs. Bouquet again. So it's the good plates that we never use. No one's allowed to touch them.
No.
And I do have to dust them and take them out
I was going to say,
from time to time.
They're there just to catch dust.
Absolutely. Yeah. And no one, like, people have tried to use it. I don't like it. No, so we do use it.
They're pretty.
They're pretty. So we've got the glasses there, and then in each drawer has a specific purpose. And what I did, I had that moment of the organisation thing. So we've got this buffet. I've just recently painted it. What do we want in each area? So the family plays games. So we've got some games, some little card games in the top drawers. So nothing else but those things go in that drawer. There's a cocktail maker and a champagne bucket there that we were given as a present. That's where they live. Yeah. And so each area has its own purpose, and the whole purpose is entertainment. So if people are here, anything that we need, we can just grab and it goes onto the table. Yeah. So when you're saying that there's stuff in that area that perhaps can get rid of, not a problem. But before you do it, have a look at the space and think about what will go back into that space once you've taken everything out. So, what we tend to do is we behave like toddlers at times with the ADHD brain, and that's, really enthusiastic. I'll take everything out. And then suddenly it's like, well, we need to make dinner now. And so what do? We just shove it all to one end, or we put it all in baskets or in bags. And then that creates more, because they breed, they're like hangers, they just breed and breed. And then someone comes over and it all has to go into a room that you can lock, because you don't want anybody to look in there, because it's the room of shame. And
you've been to my house, haven't you?
Oh my gosh, I lived in that house. So, and in fact, quite frankly, I'm glad you can't look at my dining room table at the moment, because there's a couple of things over there which I need. There's some diagrams that we drew that I need to look at, and they're not going anywhere. But I have the luxury of not having small children here. Yeah, and we can work around it.
I mean, that's the other thing. You've got to accept the fact that you've got young kids in the house, and there is extra stuff, and it is what it is. And I think part of that is, the last 2 years have been really hard for everybody. We've been home.
Oh my gosh, yes.
An awful lot. Last year, my husband was really unwell for quite a while. So my focus has only really started, and getting my diagnosis this year. This year has been my first opportunity to start trying to get these sort of routines in place. And I'm determined to do it. So I will do it. And I think it's just a matter of, seeing what the kids have outgrown, removing that, thinking about, like you say, what they still enjoy, putting that back in. And, the reality is all they need is like a ream of paper each and some pens. And that's it. They don't tend to play with a lot of the other stuff. The things that they do like could be put away somewhere that it's where it can come out on occasion when they want it. So that's been really, really good, and I hope that actually helps some of the people watching or listening to this when they think about how to deal with their home and keep things clean and tidy. So that's really, really good.
The other thing to think about is when we look at pictures on Instagram, what they're looking real. At. They're not real. Well, partly real, but whether it's workable, if you have 7 children, each with a different thing that you need to attend to, it's not realistic. But if we think about, there are 3 phases in getting a tidy home. And tidy is the end result of being and understanding being organised. Yeah. So being organised is the process bit. It's the consideration first. How do I want things to run? And it's a bit like a sculpture. You get a block of clay and you remove all the stuff that you don't need, and then you're left with the thing that you want. And the thing you want is a functioning, tidy, pleasant, peaceful home. Not perfect. Perfect doesn't work. We're not necessarily looking for a stylized thing, but it's the organisation at the core of it, knowing what it is that you're doing. And that will result in a tidy home, because there's less to deal with.
Yeah, and I think I've been looking at it back to front
Yeah,
in some ways.
we do.
I've not been, or missing that middle bit where you have to think about, like you say, what is going to work for us? What do we need? How will that work? And, you know, I think that's actually been the missing piece of the puzzle for me. So thank
Right.
you.
Okay.
I'll have to do some before and afters.
Oh
Let
yeah,
you
please
see.
do, because
Let you
talking
see.
of cheerleading, I will be your biggest cheerleader.
Oh well, I'll share them
so
with the
exciting.
community up on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I'm not thrilled by the way the house is, but if we look at each individual part, I can get things done and get organized in a better way, I'm sure. Even if I just do a little bit at a time, it'll make a big difference.
Just a little bit of the time, but always with the idea of, if I'm the information center, where do things belong?
Yeah.
Or the kindergarten teacher. So you think about the kindergarten teacher that right now we're going to do painting. They've got all the things to do the painting right there and then. And now we're going to pack up, and everybody knows how to pack it up. And the fact is that if you're the person, if you're the information center, you're the teacher, you're the go-to person, you're the one that has to make a lot of these decisions about how that will work. And that can be a huge task when your brain's not quite got it yet.
Yeah. And, you know, as well as dealing with COVID and, you know, my husband being unwell and the kids' diagnosis and getting that done, I don't think I've had the space in my head to really think that sort of stuff through. So yeah, I know I'm capable of doing it, and
you've got the priorities right.
Well, yeah, you've got to look after them before everything else. I mean, the house is clean,
100%.
Been untidy, so no, that's good. Well, I won't keep you for any longer because I think you've given us some amazing hints and tips there, Sarah. But thank you for being on. Thank you for being so candid about things. Oh, woof. And
that's my enthusiastic dog.
Yes, my enthusiastic dog is lying on her back with her legs sticking in the air, sunning herself in front of the window. She's turned into the laziest beast I've ever seen. She's not even 2 yet, but she's fabulous. My wee black Labrador. She's my shadow. She just follows me about. She sits under my desk. So she's having her best time. Yes, she is.
It was lovely talking to you. If anybody's got any questions, ask away and I'll happily answer.
Fire them into the comments and Sarah can come back on and have a look. So thanks again, Sarah. I'll say
absolute pleasure, Lorna.
Bye.
Good luck. See you.